I'm a lot of things, good or bad. One thing I know about myself and that I appreciate about myself is I've always walked in my truth. Hey guys, my name is Asia. Welcome to my channel if you're new here, and if you're not, welcome back. Today we're going to be doing part 2 of my 17 and pregnant story. So if you want to know how the rest of my labor and delivery went and raising Harper up until this point, just keep on watching. Where we left off on part 1 was that I was going into labor, and like I was saying, I was scheduled to get induced on April 15th, and I ended up going into labor naturally on April 14th. The way that my labor started was a lot of back pains, so I didn't want to wake anyone up. So around 2 o'clock in the morning, I ended up getting in the bath because I thought, water will relax me and my muscles and stuff. That didn't work. It didn't work at all. My mom texted me. She's like, "Why are you in the bathtub at 2 o'clock in the morning?" And I told her I was like, my back hurts. So here I am with this big giant belly, and I'm trying to like go sideways and like just swish around so that like my body could like, fill all the water, which is impossible. Like I was in a regular size bathtub at this point. And it was like period cramps on steroids, if I had to say so myself. And at that time, I really wasn't sure like if I was in full-blown labor or if it was like Braxton Hicks contractions or if I just was uncomfortable, because I've had nights where I couldn't sleep when I was pregnant, and put that coincide with how I was feeling emotionally. Like I just was over it. Like I didn't want anything to do with it. So I ended up getting out the tub and I downloaded a contraction app. Thank God for apps. Like, I don't know what I would do without apps these days. They have an app for everything. So I downloaded a contraction app, and at this point my contractions were like 6 to 5 minutes apart. Around like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, I ended up telling my mom, I was like, hey, like, I think I'm in labor. I think I've been in labor since like 2 o'clock this morning, and I think I'm gonna have to go to the hospital like at some point today. Like I think today's the day. And everyone is just kind of like, Asia, you were supposed to go to the hospital tomorrow. Like you were naturally, you were going to get induced with Pitocin, and now you're saying you're naturally in labor. Like, I don't know. My mom had like a really important meeting that morning. So she was like, well, just in case you're not in labor, like, I'm going to still get ready for work and make myself presentable just in case this is not labor. My mom is blow drying her hair, straightening her hair, curling her hair. My stepdad didn't get into the shower until my mom was done her hair, and they're getting my little sister dressed and like ready, and here I am, I'm just pacing the living room, like just going around the circles around the coffee table. And I'm one of those people that when I'm in pain, I just shake my leg. Like I just don't know what else to do but like to just shake some part of my body, like to try to push myself through it. So I'm just going through it in the living room by myself, waiting for everybody to get dressed. And at this point, I hate being in pain. I hate being uncomfortable, so I didn't want to talk to anybody. I just was evil. I was being so mean to everybody. The nurses, my mom. Like my mom kept like trying to soothe me, and I just was like looking at her like this. And my mom knows I hate being touched. Like I don't hug my parents. Even my friends know better than to touch me. Like. So I was around like 3-4 centimeters dilated when I got there. So they left me alone for like an hour, and when she came back, I was around 5 to 6. And she's like, okay, like, do you want an epidural? Because now this is the time where we should do it. I did want an epidural because, like I said, I was miserable. So I needed help. I didn't want to feel how much worse it could get. I didn't want to feel it any longer because I felt like I wasn't being allow the opportunity to really be there, like present in the labor, because of me concentrating on the pain. So I ended up getting an epidural, and my anesthesiologist, he just was like, hey puppy boy, he just was like, you have a beautiful spine. I'm like, thanks. I never heard that one before, but I'll keep that one in mind. So I got that. Once I got my epidural, everything was pretty much smooth sailing. Like I didn't have any complaints or anything, except for at some point it would be like too much going through me, and like I literally couldn't control like the upper region of one side of my body. I think it was my left side of my body completely went numb at one point. Like I couldn't do anything. You are so emotional. Yeah, so once like everything was going good like that, my mom texted my cousin, who is Harper's godmom, and was like, hey, Asia's in labor. And next thing I know, my cousin was there in 10 minutes. She just walked through the door, and I'm just like, how'd you get here so quickly? And she was like, you know, I drive fast. She wasn't too far. I mean, she was like 20 minutes away from me though, but she got there in like 10. So I'll insert a picture of us sitting in the delivery room. And once I had the epidural, like I was fine, you know. I wanted popsicles, I wanted ice, I wanted to relax, and we just were all talking and like preparing for this moment. And then the nurse came in and she broke my water. And then the next time she came back, and then like another 45 minutes later, she's like, you know, I want you to do a test push because I was 10 centimeters dilated. And she stopped me mid push, and she was like, wait, stop pushing, because like she could see the head. She's like, okay, like the baby's right here, like I don't need to do a test push or anything like that. I'm gonna go get your doctor. It happened so quickly. Like I probably wasn't even pushing for like 10 minutes, and I probably only pushed like 5 or 6 times, and Harper was out. And I started crying as soon as Harper was delivered. It was a really emotional moment, but at the same time it's a very euphoric moment. And you know, like your body does go through something like within that exact second, because like your body has been preparing for this moment for so long, especially critically within the last 24 hours of labor, or when you start dilating. They just, a wave of emotions come over you, and I just started crying. Like I just was like full blown. It wasn't even like, oh, a tear fell. It was full blown tears. And they put the baby on my chest, and they were, you know, like do skin to skin and breastfeed and stuff. And I look at my cousin, and she's crying. And I'm like, I started laughing. I'm like, why are you crying? And she's like, you just delivered a baby. Like, oh my gosh. My hair was the doctors and the nurses, and they're like, oh my gosh, she looks just like your mom. And I'm just like, thanks guys. Thanks, you know. I just carried this baby for 38 weeks, and all you guys have to say to me is that she looks like my mom. So you know, finished delivering like the placenta. I had to get stitches because I tore, and that was that. So after delivery, staying in the hospital for the 2 days, it was rough. I feel like a conversation that not enough people are willing to have or admit to is that not everyone is so emotionally connected to their baby the second that they give birth. I was one of those people. I talk about it in my vlogs a lot, that I'm just not emotionally available to anything or anybody. I honestly don't know why I'm like that. I've always been like that. When I look at it, like my childhood and stuff, that I just was never like super affectionate and like loving and like big on my feelings and stuff. So I loved my daughter, and I, you know, like I thought it was amazing that like she came out of me. But I think like considering who I am as a person, and then considering what I went through the last 38 weeks, I just was kind of like, oh yay, it's a baby, you know. And I was like, oh, like she's beautiful, but I just wasn't ready, I guess. Like I wasn't there emotionally yet. My mom was though. My mom was like full blown in love, and I mean I was in love with her, but I just wasn't. It's really hard to put into words. Maybe that's why nobody has this conversation. I just wasn't there. Like it's like my body was there, but like I was somewhere else, you know. Like all of me was not there for this moment. So it ended up being one of those 2 days where a lot of it was a blur, honestly, because of how I felt emotionally. And the time that I did spend with Harper when we were in a hospital, it was, you know, like when I was being taught how to breastfeed and like latch and stuff, and when they were doing like all the tests and just like learning about how to be a parent. I've always been really good with kids. I've babysat like all my little cousins growing up, and I know you're thinking like, oh, Asian babysitting is different. No, I used to babysit like my twin cousins, like when they were like 2 months, like keep twins by myself. Like I didn't have my mom help me or anything. So I've always been like just a really nurturing person, and I felt like my mom, that was like her bonding moment with Harper. So like my mom, like Harper slept on like my mom's chest at nighttime, and I basically just was there for my breast because they had milk in them, allegedly. The day that I gave labor to Harper, my cousin, you know, I sent pictures to like my family and stuff, but my cousin posted a picture on Instagram and somehow it got back to Harper's dad, and Harper's dad called me and told me that that's not his baby because she looks nothing like him, whatever that means. So it was just one of those things where it was like, again, I didn't get to fully be there and enjoy the moment because I was constantly being brought down. I ended up letting it go, and that was the first day that I was in the hospital. That was the same day that I gave birth, and everyone came to visit, like my stepmom, her parents, my mom's friends, some of my aunts, and that was pretty much it. Like my grandma and stuff came, but I don't know if you guys know this, but I'm not close with my family at all. Like my dad's side of the family, I don't talk to them. My mom's side of the family, I don't talk to them. And the reason I don't talk to my dad's side of the family is because they pretty much like ghosted me after they found out I was pregnant. Like no one accepted me in my pregnancy. It was just this big whole ordeal, and that's kind of like an ongoing issue that me and my dad have about this whole scenario when it happened, which I could talk about in a later story. But basically it just was like, I don't know how I'm supposed to tell my kids that Asia's pregnant, so like don't bring Asia around while she's pregnant. And ever since then I've just been like very wary of my family because I would never do that to my family. Like I would never, you know, like I was at a point in my life where I needed my family the most, like people that are supposed to love me unconditionally no matter what I go through or what's happening to me in my life. Like they're supposed to support me, and they did not. So yeah, like the only people that really came were like my mom's close friends. My mom's co-workers even came before like my own family ever called me and said like congratulations on your baby. But again, it was just one of those moments. It's just like whatever, you know. Like I'm so used to being disappointed that like it doesn't affect me anymore, that I don't get my hopes up to ever think that someone's gonna be so good to me. And it's one of my most toxic traits to date, because even when I meet people that want to make me so happy and give me the world, I just always feel like, you know, it's too good to be true. Like this is gonna come crumbling down before I even get to enjoy it. So the day that I was getting discharged, you know, we were all getting dressed to leave and stuff, filling out the last few documents, and literally Harper was in her car seat in her little all black outfit. She was so tiny. It's so crazy to think that like I'm about to have a 6-year-old and she was so small at one point. But my mom has always been super big on telling me not to be emotional. And it's really weird because I'm not emotional, but I make very emotional decisions, if that makes sense. Like if I feel a certain type of way, I'm going to act on that. And I say that to say that I'm one of those people that if I don't like the situation, if I'm mad, if I dislike you and the situation together, like conjoined as one, I'm gonna full-fledgedly act on that, and I don't care. Like when I tell people I don't care, it genuinely means that I don't care. Like I'm making this decision because it's best for me, it's best for my well-being. Well, at this time I now had a whole other person to think about. So my mom was like, you know, like it's not about you anymore, it's not about your emotions, it's not about like how hurt you are, like it is about Harper and what's best for Harper in the long run. So my mom convinced me to, well, not even convinced me, my mom told me that Harper's dad was going to come visit and they were going to do a DNA test so that this whole thing could be hashed out, so that if he wanted to be a dad, he could. We did the DNA test and he held Harper. I don't know why. That was weird. That was awkward for me, you know. I'm just like, you just talked about this like pregnancy this entire time, told me this wasn't your baby every time you could, and here you are holding my child, staring into her eyes. But you know, whatever. So 2 to 3 weeks go by, the DNA test comes back. What do you know? What does this say? Now, you are the father. 99.99999, you know, with a line at the top because it means the lines are gonna keep going %. He's the dad. I was like in the car with my stepdad. I think I was going to Harper's like her appointment, like one of her doctor's appointments, because I was in the car with my stepdad, and I had just so happened to like load the document. I don't even know what made me like want to go see if it loaded at this point, but it did. And I called him and I sent a screenshot and I was like, oh, did you see the like, you know, the document? And he was like, what does that mean? I was like, oh, it means you're her dad. He was like, okay. You know, it was what it was. He was like, okay, like I'll come and see her and stuff. Even after the DNA test, he wasn't there. He would like FaceTime me every now and again in the beginning when the DNA test first came back and like talk to me and, you know, ask me how Harper was. And then he would go missing for months. And then at some point when she was a baby, probably like, I don't know, maybe 4 to 5 months. I don't know. I honestly don't know the exact. I know she was still small, but she wasn't like fresh out my vagine at this point. But you know, she was still small. He came to visit her, and you know, we were just sitting in my living room, and he's just holding her, taking pictures with her, and stuff like that. And he left my house that day, and he ended up getting arrested again. I don't know. It sounds a lot like karma to me, but whatever. You didn't hear that from me. And he ended up being back in jail for like a year or so. And I'm not gonna lie, I didn't take Harper to see him. I took Harper to see him probably once or twice, and that was because my mom made me. And I didn't care for the situation, if that makes sense. And there's 2 ways you could go about a situation like this. It's like, I could enforce that relationship because I want my daughter to have a dad, but I had a dad full-fledged in my life who still wasn't there enough for me, that I still ended up being messed up. So because I was like that, and I knew what it felt like to have a dad that it's like, okay, I have this dad walking this earth who was more than capable of taking care of me, more than capable of being there for me emotionally, financially, physically, and he still wasn't, that I just was like, you're not good enough to be in my daughter's life. Because, you know, you love your kids so much that you're just like, you're not going to do anything but hurt my kid. And me as her mom, I can't let you do that. So it was, you know, it was like I was preparing my daughter for a life of disappointment in a sense, and I didn't want to be that person, and that was my own selfish decision. And the role that my mom played in all of it is, my mom was like, you can't do that, you know. My mom was like, it has nothing to do with you and how you feel or who you think he is as a person. Like, you know, you got pregnant by him, this is your life now, and if he's gonna disappoint her, you have to let her see that for herself. Because it took me 16 to 7 years for me to realize on my own that my dad was a POS, a piece of shit. So, you know, my mom never forced that on me, like that my dad was not the best that he could be. Sorry about the dog, my leg is falling asleep too. But my mom never forced it on me. My mom kind of like let me figure that out for myself, which I give my mom a lot of credit for, because once I did make that decision that my dad was like that, I was already old enough to the point that I just was like, I don't care, like it's okay, you know, like it is what it is. So a lot of it just was me taking my mom's advice, or my mom being the one in control in a situation, because I was making very emotional decisions. I think that I deserve to make those emotional decisions, because I don't think it's fair what I had to go through by myself when I was young. And I don't, like I told you guys, I don't wish it on anybody, like that pain that I went through. So when he did get released from jail again, and you know, Harper was walking at this point and stuff, that he was home and fully capable, again, goes back to like how I felt about my dad, fully capable of being a dad. He chose not to. He just went missing. It was, even when he was home, it was like she did not exist, like she was not here. And you know, at this point there was no excuse for it, because you had a DNA test that proves that she was your child. And yeah, I might have did really messed up things, like, you know, not letting them have a relationship while he was in jail, but how he felt towards me and the decisions I made had nothing to do with her. And I mean, I guess at the same time I was doing the same thing reversed, but I'm I'm just one of those people. I don't think a jail is a place for a child to be, especially like a young infant. And not that she knows what's going on, but like, why would you even want your kid to be going back and forth between a jail? And we don't have nothing to talk about. We weren't friends. We weren't co-parenting. So I don't want to sit across the table from you. So, you know, like I didn't care for the whole thing overall. And that's just not my life. You know, I mean, not that I deal with men anymore that will go to jail, because that life is far behind me. But if I were to, don't count on me to be there for you, because I'm not. And I'm just telling you that now. So just a heads up. But, you know, I did make very emotional decisions because I was overprotective of my daughter to the point that, if I keep messing with my hair, I'm sorry, it's just like bothering me. I was so overprotective of my daughter to the point that I didn't think he deserved her. There's no other way for me to put it. Like, I didn't think that she was like the sweetest kid ever. She was so freaking smart. And, you know, all she had growing up, well, even to this day, all she ever had was me, my mom, my little sister, and my stepdad. That's it. That's all she has, you know? So, I'm about to cry. That's it. Like, that's our family, you know? And I didn't feel like I had to go to a world's end for anybody else that wasn't included in those names that I just listed. So it was one of those things that even when he came home and I still saw the pregnancy situation come back in my face again, where it just was like acting like my daughter doesn't exist, it hurt me even more than when I was pregnant, because it's like, here I am now, I have this child is on this earth, she is breathing, she's walking, she's starting to talk, you know, and she's beautiful and she's brilliant, and you have a piece of paper or PDF that says that this is your child, and you still don't want anything to do with my kid. Well, like, so what did you make me go through all that for, you know? Like, it was like, you couldn't, like, we could have just been done with this from day one, from when I was pregnant, when you first called me. It ended up being like that for a really long time. Basically, it wasn't until Harper was two and some change, like over 2.5 years old to 3, that he decided to be a dad. And at this point, I knew how to parent alone. And I was so used to doing everything by myself. I knew how to only rely on myself to take care of my child. And I knew that all I had was my mom and my stepdad, because I couldn't rely on anybody else to help me with this little girl. Thank God that I had the support system that I did, because I don't know where I would have been if I didn't. And, you know, for me, it's just like me going to college. Like, it wasn't for me, because I probably would have never went to college, because I'm smart, don't get me wrong, like, I'm really, really smart, but even when I look at my student loans now, I'm just like, the dumbest thing I ever did was go to college. But I went to school for my mom and for Harper, and it was just basically because I wanted both of them to know, like, that I could do it. So, you know, after raising a baby by yourself for 3 years, and you just like get adjusted to it, and that's all you know, that when he finally did decide to be a dad, it just was like, well, I don't know how to parent with you. And there was no such thing as, hey, let me call so and so because she needs diapers or she needs sim. Like, I don't know how to do that, because I never had to do that. I never had to go out my way and call him. It was always call my mom or call my stepdad, and it was done, you know? It was no questions asked. So that's how I was. You can't tell somebody to learn how to co-parent when they just did it. Basically, I raised a whole toddler by myself. Like, I didn't raise a baby by myself. I raised a toddler by myself. You know, it was just one of those things that it felt like every time that I thought the situation was going to get better on behalf of my daughter, it didn't. And it just always, it got to a point at once she was here and this DNA test was back that I wasn't hurting anymore. I was hurting for my daughter because I just didn't understand how anyone could do that to their kid, you know? Like, I was 18. There was never a day that I got to wake up and say, I don't feel like being a mom. Never. It didn't matter if I had a cold, if my period was on and my uterus was falling out my body, if, like, you know, I just wasn't mentally there that day, or if I had finals or midterms at school. I could never wake up and say, I'm not being a parent today. And he did. And I didn't think that was fair. Like, you got to wake up every day for like damn near half a year, off and on, and just say, I just don't want nothing to do with it. And it just was really bizarre to me. And it really shaped me into the person I am today, because I just learned that in the end, no matter what, all you have is you. And, you know, I know somewhere there's somebody that's just like me that felt like they didn't know what light was at the end of the tunnel, or how you could overcome being that broken. And because, like, for me, I just always felt like it was like, you broke me, and then the second that I was becoming okay, you decided to come back and break me a little bit more. And it just was a repetitive cycle of doing it to me. And I always was like, I never did nothing to you, you know? And then you drag my kid into it, and now it's like, I'm trying to be protective over me because you do nothing but hurt me. And I don't want you hurting her like that. Like, I don't want my daughter growing up with that mentality, because it's not fun being like a broken female. You make a lot of decisions based on it, and I know that now more than ever. So I just always moved very angry, and I think I was right to do so, because I didn't owe nobody nothing. Only person I owed anything to was my daughter. And my priority at the time was going to college and trying to figure out how to be the best person for her, and to put myself in a position that she would be proud of me, and that she would want to brag about me one day, you know, and that she would be proud to say that I was her mom. Because even though I went through all that, I never used it as an excuse to be a bad person. I never used it as an excuse why I shouldn't be good to people. Like, I woke up every day and I kept going with life. And, you know, when you're pregnant as a teenager, everybody's number one question is, how are you going to finish high school? How are you going to go to college if you do? Because they say we're not going to. And then what's your plan, you know? Because statistics say that if you have one child as a teenager, you're going to have two before you're 25. You're not going to finish high school. You're not going to go to college. And I wasn't going to let that be me. I already let too much stuff happen to me for me to become a number of disappointment, because I already went through too much disappointment. I already was broken enough that I wasn't going to become another number to society that I failed at life because I got pregnant, you know? So during the midst of all of this, I had my eyes set on a school, and that was my dream school. I don't know why it was my dream school, but I was going to this damn university, and I didn't get accepted straight out of high school. And I was heartbroken, you know, like, it was one of those things where I just was like, nothing ever goes good for you. Like, I was like, I can't catch a freaking break, because, you know, I was fresh out of high school when I first applied to this college. So I didn't get accepted, and I just was like, you know what, Asia? You're not going to let this break you. You're not going to let this define you. You're not going to let yourself get depressed because this didn't work out in your favor. I reapplied back to the school I wanted to go to. And it's so crazy because my essay that got me into college was on not being a statistic. And like, the reason it was important to me to make that my essay was because You know, these people, they read so many essays a day, or like a month even, but they don't know what it means to go to college when everything says you're not going to, for someone like me. So I ended up getting accepted to Drexel University, and it was like one of the more defining moments for me, because that's when I realized, okay, you could do this. That's when I realized that anything that I set my mind to at this point in my life, I could do, and I just really had to work for it. Even if it wasn't supposed to happen when I wanted it to happen, or whatever the case was, I could do it. So I went to Drexel University. By the way, it's a top 100 university. And I graduated in 4 years. I have my degree in psychology, and I graduated being on the dean's list 5 times. My GPA was a 3.3, and I'm proud of myself, you know, because I did that for her. I'm probably one of 5 people that has graduated in my family from college. It's so crazy because the day that I got a call that I got accepted to Drexel was my mom's birthday. And then the week of my graduation, it was the week of my mom's birthday. And I felt like it all came like very full circle for all of us, you know, for me to make my mom proud and for me to make Harper proud. So I just look at the situation as I should have gave up at some point, and I didn't. I've done everything I could to give my child a beautiful life, and I'm so grateful to like my mom for being able to give us a beautiful life. And you know, for like the first 3.5 years of my daughter's life, my mom was taking care of her 100% financially. Every single box of diapers, every single can of formula, clothes, doctor's appointments, insurance, everything, that was from my mom. And I owe nothing to no one except for my mom. It's just, it did suck. Like, it really did. And now I'm 23. I'm 23 with a 5-year-old. And I've been so blessed and fortunate enough that I've experienced things in my life already within the last 2 years that if you told me I was going to experience these blessings, I would have laughed in your face. And you know, and I'm not even speaking of materialistic things, just like my experiences, my friends that I have, the relationship that I have with my mom now. I'm so grateful for all of it, because I went from being a very, very broken person back then to now I'm really happy with who I am. I'm happy with how I raised my daughter to be, because she's respectful, she's intelligent, she's funny. Like, she's literally the wittiest person I know. But she's so sweet, and despite everything that I went through, I was very fortunate enough to have been in a relationship after that where he loved my daughter, and you know, he was there for her in a way that other people weren't. They were supposed to. And he didn't owe me anything, he didn't owe my daughter anything, but he loved my daughter. Every doctor's appointment, emergency room visit, dentist appointment, everything, he was there. You know, he helped me take care of her financially, he was there emotionally, and I was very grateful to have that support the last few years of his life and the most recent of hers, because it just showed me that good things do happen. You just have to wait for them to come and take your time. And you know, for me, someone that I don't think that life could get good, or I'm just always waiting for things to crumble down around me, he showed me that me and her will be okay. And I mean, I feel like, you know, having a 5-year-old, it's a lot of pressure because I'm raising a human that I want her to be an example for other people. But I want her to know that, like, I went through a lot of stuff, but me and her are okay. So yeah, it's been a very long 5 years for us. We went through a lot. I mean, we still go through things to this day. And the reason I told, like, the more emotional side of my story is because I feel like people, you know, find me on Instagram and they're just like, everything looks great. You know, I don't have the most followers in the world, but like 30,000 is not a little number of people. I don't know 30,000 people. I don't even know 300. So I feel like people just see me and it's just, you know, like I live my best life. And one thing about me is I'm a lot of things. I'm a lot of things, good or bad. One thing I know about myself and that I appreciate about myself is I've always walked in my truth. I'm not afraid to tell people my story or what I've been through because I don't know who needs to hear it. And is all of this too emotional? Yeah, of course. Is it too out there? Yeah, of course. But the DMs that I have received alone in the last few days since I uploaded part 1, I'm not the only person that's been through this, and I'm not the only person that overcame it, and I'm not gonna be the only person. And I think that there's so many of us that we get hurt and people just brush us off because we're these young moms, you know, nobody takes us serious, that nobody wants to talk about it. They only want to talk about the good parts. And I just want to be the one that says, you know, no, people are gonna judge you every single day. Does it suck? Yeah, of course. But for me, I love being a young mom because I'm growing up and my kid is growing up with me. She's experiencing the fun side of me. You know, we're really close and we're just literally going through life together, and I wouldn't have it any other way. But I just think it's crazy that someone like me, who had such a dark moment in their life, overcame it. And I even like apply that same mentality to when I tell you guys, like, you know, how my ex-boyfriend ended up passing away. And I watched my entire life do a 360 emotionally, and I watched myself grow as a person, and I'm okay now. Like I said, the whole reason that I did this and sat here crying for 2 videos was because there's so many people like me, and I wouldn't recommend having a kid young. That's not the point of this. I'm not saying, you know, it's easy, it gets better, do it, you should. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying if those are the cards you're dealt and you feel like that's the path your life is going down, it's gonna be okay. But you should wait. You don't think I wish I could just leave out the house on a Friday and be like, you know what, I'm leaving, I'm going out, I might come back Sunday, but I might come back Wednesday. I don't really know. I can't do that because I have responsibilities. But, you know, a lot of aspects of life would have been much easier if I would have waited to have a kid. But I don't regret my kid because my kid is here now. And I mean, I love my kids so much, and I know I was very fortunate and blessed to have the support system I did, because not everyone is gonna have a mom like mine who is able to be there financially and emotionally and be my mom and be like, you know, my other half in the situation. Like, I know that, but I think it's important that wherever you find your support, you don't push them away because of how hurt you are. And I mean, I probably don't say thank you to my mom enough, but I'm very thankful for my mom because I don't know how I would handle the situation if it wasn't for her. But yeah, so that's everything. Thank you guys again for all the DMs you guys have been sending me. I really appreciate them. I've been replying to all of them slowly but surely, and I'm just so happy that you guys enjoyed all of this. To all the girls that DM me about their similar stories, thank you so much. It feels so good to know that I'm not alone. And you know, it's very hard for me to put myself out there like this, but somebody's gonna find this video and somebody's really gonna appreciate it, and that one person is enough for me, honestly. I'm not doing it for views and for clout or whatever these kids call it these days. I'm doing it literally because I want someone to know that I took all that pain, and I took my pain and I accomplished a lot of things that I shouldn't have accomplished. And whether that's as small as going to college or moving on and finding love and just being a good mom, I'm okay with that, you know? So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. This was a lot, but I really appreciate it. We are now closing our therapy session, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye guys.